Imagine risking your life for your country, fighting in a brutal world war, surviving bullets, bombs, and battlefield terror, only to return home and be denied the very freedom you fought to protect. In 1944, the United States passed a historic law meant to reward returning soldiers and help them rebuild their lives. It promised education, housing, jobs, and a pathway into the middle class. It was called the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, better known as the GI Bill. But while it transformed millions of lives, for many black veterans, the promise ended the moment they came home. This is the story of opportunity, inequality, and a hidden chapter of history that still shapes the world today. World War II was coming to an end. More than 16 million Americans had served in the military. Leaders feared a return to the economic collapse of the Great Depression, mass unemployment, poverty, and unrest among returning soldiers. To prevent this, Congress passed the GI Bill in 1944. It offered free college tuition, low-interest home loans, business and farm loans, job training programs, and unemployment benefits. It became one of the most generous social programs in American history. And it worked. Millions of veterans went to college. They bought homes. They built businesses. They created what would become the modern American middle class. But there was a problem. The benefits were equal on paper, not in reality. More than 1 million black men served in World War II. They fought in segregated units under Jim Crow laws. They often received inferior equipment, limited roles, and discriminatory treatment. Yet they served with courage and distinction. The Tuskegee Airmen became legendary fighter pilots. Black soldiers fought in Europe, Africa, and the Pacific. They defended democracy abroad while being denied full citizenship at home. Many believed their service would change how America treated them. They believed freedom would finally include them. But when they returned home, discrimination was still waiting. The GI Bill did not contain language excluding black veterans. On paper, it applied to everyone. But administration of benefits was left to local governments, banks, colleges, and employers. In the segregated South and even parts of the North, discrimination was legal, normal, and enforced. This allowed unequal access without breaking federal law. White veterans gained opportunity. Black veterans faced barriers at nearly every step. The GI Bill paid for college education. Universities across America filled with returning white veterans, and college attendance in the United States exploded. But many universities refused to admit black students. Segregation laws in the South barred them completely. Even in the North, informal discrimination limited admission. Historically, black colleges and universities welcomed black veterans, but they were severely underfunded and overcrowded. Classrooms filled beyond capacity, and thousands of qualified veterans were turned away. Meanwhile, white veterans entered universities in record numbers, becoming doctors, engineers, lawyers, teachers, and business leaders. Education became a ladder to opportunity, one that many black veterans were denied. Perhaps the most transformative benefit of the GI Bill was access to home loans. The government guaranteed mortgages with low interest and no down payment, making homeownership possible for millions. Suburbs expanded rapidly across America. White veterans purchased homes and began building generational wealth. Black veterans faced a different reality. Banks denied mortgages in black neighborhoods. Federal housing policies supported redlining, labeling black communities as high risk. Developers refused to sell homes to black families, and some neighborhoods enforced racial covenants banning non-white residents. White families accumulated wealth through property ownership. Black families were largely excluded from the suburban boom. This contributed directly to today's racial wealth gap. The GI Bill also funded job training programs and vocational education, but discrimination in hiring remained widespread.
Many labor unions excluded black workers. Local officials steered black veterans into low-wage labor rather than skilled trades. White veterans entered professional careers and skilled industries. Black veterans were often confined to domestic work, agriculture, or manual labor. Opportunity existed, but not equally. The GI Bill helped create the American middle class, but its unequal distribution of benefits widened economic inequality. White veterans gained education, home ownership, stable careers, and generational wealth. Black veterans were often denied these pathways. Historian Ira Katznelson later described the GI Bill as an affirmative action program for white Americans. The effects were not temporary. They passed from generation to generation.
As black veterans returned home, determined to claim the freedom they fought for, many became leaders in the civil rights movement. Their experiences exposed the contradictions of American democracy. Organizations like the NAACP gained momentum, and veterans challenged segregation, voting suppression, and discrimination. Their courage helped ignite the fight for civil rights in the decades that followed. The GI Bill changed America. It built suburbs, it expanded universities, it created the middle class. But unequal access ensured that not everyone shared in its promise. Today, disparities in home ownership, wealth, education, and opportunity can be traced in part to these policies. Black veterans fought for freedom abroad, yet returned to a nation that limited their freedom at home. They wore the same uniform. They faced the same enemy. They risked the same lives. But when the war ended, opportunity did not come home equally. And the echoes of that inequality are still with us today. History is not just the past. It is the foundation of the present. And understanding it is the first step toward a more equal future.